Hey,
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I forgot this was my background. I feel like it's really aggressive. Like, my name is Sunny. Or that I'm here. You should know. But I'm Sunny. I'm 36. I was diagnosed with ALS 8 years ago. And this is our second year of the ALS Film Festival. And I'm so thankful to everyone that is here. We're at 21 people, which is awesome. And we're gonna have a great hour. So I have a couple of just kind of conversation starter stock questions for both Gabe and for the Wymans, and we'll let y'all introduce yourself in just a second. And then as you're on the call, if you come up with questions or thoughts or topics, throw them in the chat if you can. And if that is not your preferred route of communication, then raise your hand or start talking over me and we'll get you in. And I look forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on this film. Gabe, let's start with you.
All right. Thank you all for having me. My name is Gabriel Rovick, and I am the filmmaker for From the Passenger Seat. I met Gary many years before we made the film, and we worked together doing outdoor film projects. And when Gary was diagnosed with ALS, he came to me with this plan to go on this epic adventure, and I joined him along the way, and we documented the process. I own a film production company that specializes in films such as this that are stories worth telling, is what I like to call them. And Gary's story was just that. And I had the pleasure of spending a lot of time with Gary and Cindy.
Yeah.
Wyman fam, you're up.
I'm Cindy,
I'm Gary.
and we're Gary Lee's parents, and we live in Colorado. What
Yeah.
else?
In the movie, Gabe didn't go with us on the first part. He came in the part in Vegas, but in the first part was my daughter and Cindy and I and Gary, and there was a lot of, I think we were together 3 or 4 days, and I wish Gabe could have, I wish we could have had more film about that, but yeah, it was a good film. I can't watch it very often, but I get too emotional. But and there were some other good parts in there. When the band broke, me and my daughter flew to Reno, and one of Gary's friends that was on the trip, Tucker, drove it to Reno. We picked it up and drove it all the way to, I think it was Billings, wasn't it, Gabe? Was it Billings?
Yeah, Bozeman.
Bozeman, Montana. And then me and my daughter rented a car and came back to Denver. But that was just some of the parts that were kind of missing. But
We broke down like 2 or 3 times before Gabe got there.
yeah.
We were actually putting our hands out the window trying to help it up the hill. But I haven't seen the film. We watched it last night, and I haven't seen it since the premiere in Golden, because it's just too difficult. It felt different watching it the second time, and I don't know if it's because it's been 4.5 years, but it's still really raw. So, and it's just everybody's different. Some people are able to have a mindset that they are able to work through grief and things like that. And it's changed me a lot, not always in the good way, but it's made me stronger. So, and my faith stronger.
I love that.
And it was, I think it was just pretty amazing too, that Gary had all his friends. He worked with some really big companies like Vans and Patagonia and Icelandic and stuff. So we got to meet 686, he got to meet all these people in California. And a lot of them moved up to Washington and stuff. And I just thought it was really great that he was able to get a hold of those people in such short notice. And I just thought that was really phenomenal that
Yeah.
they helped him out on the way.
Mhm.
And then Gabe and Lisa was a really, she did a lot of,
She's an angel.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah,
She's an angel.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Did Gary get to see the film?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
No, we didn't get to see the film. And I don't know about you, Sonny, but Gary tried to put the ALS behind him
Mhm.
and try to focus what was in front of him. And so one time he got really angry at me. One time I had all his friends come, and Gabe came to a restaurant, and Gabe videotaped all these friends telling different memories about him. And it was going to be a surprise because I thought he needed to hear what people thought about him all the time. People hear those kind of wonderful things. Well, people don't hear those wonderful things or get flowers when you're alive. It all happens afterwards. And I thought, well, gosh, wouldn't it be nice to hear that? He did not want to hear that. He didn't want to hear that. He wanted to focus on what was in front of him, not behind him. So.
But like he said, he wanted to live life to the fullest
Yeah.
after he got diagnosed, and he did. So.
And he was really bummed when he got back. He wanted to keep on going, but people have lives, they have jobs and families, and but he would have kept on going. And I don't know how difficult it was for you guys to take care of him. I just know how difficult it was for Lisa or his sister Cameron. And I had neck surgery and I couldn't do too much. And Gary and a few other friends that came to the house and took care of him.
I just want to give a good shout out to the Gleason Foundation, because they got Gary the computer that he could use with his eyes because he couldn't talk. And they sent him to Africa for, I don't know how long it was, 2 or 3 weeks. And I just think that the Gleason Foundation was really, really supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we love Team Gleason. They're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
An amazing organization.
Yes.
Gabe, how hard was it for you? I mean, I think that's a valid question.
Yeah, definitely. It was there were moments that were super great and special and exciting and happy moments, but there were also struggling moments. George, I see a question from you here. You've never seen a more impactful and brutal first scene of a movie in your life. When he said he's scared and angry, you resonated with that experience. I hear about from pals. What was the decision to start the film there? I think, from Sonny's question to George's, that when I was trying to figure out how to describe Gary's feeling towards it, because a lot of the time on the trip, it was so exciting, and we're doing all these fun activities, but there was a lot of pain involved. And I don't think you really get to see that, that realization point from Gary, other than that. And that was kind of his true account to it. Like, he filmed that on his own cell phone when he was sitting by himself. And I think, when I was first deciding how to start the film, I kept watching that particular thing, and it just hit me so hard that, like, exactly, watching that it was hard to watch that every single time I went through the film. So yeah, seeing your friend in that much pain is just, it's a struggle.
Yeah, I remember, yeah, I watched him a couple days a week, and it took forever to get him comfortable at night. He was in so much pain, so yes, it was. Yeah.
Gabe, I want to thank you again for leaving this legacy for our family.
Mhm.
Not many people hardly anybody gets that opportunity that he got, and the gift that you gave us. And even though we haven't watched it in a while, we have it. It's in my special drawer in my dresser, because I'm afraid to lose it. And yeah, that opening scene though, it was so difficult for him because he'd only been married 3 months. They were planning they had their life planned out, where they were going to travel, how long they're going to travel, when they're going to start a family, and bought a house. And then this gets thrown in. And Glennis, you can say something about that too, because you were in the same position, with your fiance. You have all these plans, and then that gets thrown in.
Yeah, it's a shocker beyond belief.
Yeah.
It's heart-wrenching at the same time, but I warned Cindy that I'm a big crier all the time. So I'm probably going to get very emotional on this because I love this film so much. And it does resonate with my story with my husband, Vince. He was diagnosed 2 days before our wedding, and we had 13 months of the most perfect marriage you could ever ask for. And no fighting. It was just all amazing, fun things. We did the road trips, like Gabe said, that, you focus on all these great fun things, but then there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that just we all live on a daily basis, right? Like, we as caregivers see the horrible sides of ALS, and, people living with ALS feel everything that they're going through. So I find that, my favorite scene out of this entire movie was when you transferred Gary over to the Friends for the first time.
Oh,
And
you did it. All the tears are not in that film.
I'm sure.
So hard.
I'm sure. I can't even imagine handing Vince over to somebody, and I just don't know how you did it. And it was like unreal. And his name was Tucker, right? The first guy that made them.
Yeah.
Tucker has sunglasses on, but I can just feel the absolute terror in his eyes in that scene. And it was just, that scene for me was the most touching out of everything. Was just like, oh crap, I need to keep my friend alive. And
Tucker and Gary were friends since.
Preschool.
Yeah.
oh,
They went to preschool together 2 years before going all the way graduating together.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
and that's
and
such a
Tucker-
metaphor, that scene, for motherhood, right? Turning your baby over into the world and accepting that he will face risk. And it's such a different time when you shouldn't have had to have that. Gabe, did you know what you had when you filmed that scene?
Yeah, I think every moment, once we got there it was hard to put the camera down. And then, I hadn't met all his friends before. Hi Sal.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Uh,
Sal, jump in here.
yeah,
You're
so
just as
you know,
guilty by
the
association.
first time I met Tucker and Sal and these guys, I knew right then that, this guy was one in good hands, but that he kept really good company. And it was just so beautiful to watch and to be a part of it, but really to just observe Gary's relationships with each person it was so special. And he loved every single person that came in contact with. Um, and it was just amazing. But Sal was one of Gary's closest friends, and watching him take care of Gary, it was just like a brother, a mother, anything like that. It was beautiful.
Yeah, Gary and I are just really close, and we kind of always had a connection. So then when he couldn't talk, it turned into just like friends not needing to talk and just figuring it out. Just do whatever it takes to keep going and laughing and just keep going. That was it.
He loved you.
I know.
He when he had a voice, he considered all his friends his family.
Absolutely.
But turning him over to Tucker was really tough, because Tucker is this big bodybuilding guy, big heart,
Stressed out, anxiety, needs to
He
do it
was
by the
so
book, has to get
afraid.
it done, can't go
Yeah.
out of the norm, has to follow the directions, first read the directions, then do it. So
He was so
yeah,
afraid. He was so afraid.
Tucker and I are a little opposite on that end. And so I was just going for it and doing whatever it took to just keep going, like I said, and make things happy and easy and whatnot. And Tucker was just kind of the wheel man and the muscle man, like always, and just making things happen. So everyone just kind of found their little spot. And man, it was just memories every day that just we'll never forget.
I think something that really shook me was when they went skydiving. There must have been 60 people there. Nobody said a word. And they were fitting Gary, with a special suit. And
It's strapped like you would pair a skydive with a partner, and his legs were attached to that person's legs. His arms were attached to the guy's arms, and his belly was attached to, or back attached to the other belly. So it was like, yeah.
And then when they finally landed, every one of those people started clapping, screaming.
They didn't know him.
It was really emotional. Yeah.
I can only imagine. Like, are y'all seeing this? Do you see this guy? How is this gonna work? I want to be here when he hits the ground. I want to see this all the way through. I don't have to know him. I'm invested.
Yeah.
I just had neck surgery like 10 months before, and he asked me to go. And if I told my doctor I was going to go skydiving with him, they would have freaked out, because I have a mechanism, a box in my neck, and I'm, yeah. Gary ate one too many hot dogs. They wouldn't let him go.
It happens.
Burritos.
Or burritos. But it was, watching his face, he was the last one to get on the plane. And watching his face, they had him right by the door, the first seat to go out. At first, he looked a little bit like, what in the hell am I doing? And then then he just smiled the whole time, you know, and I know he was in pain during that time, but up there flying, you could see the United States, you could see Mexico, and he was like everybody else, because I was tandem, I didn't go by myself. So his suit might have been a little slightly different, but he was falling just like I was and feeling the same things I was. And it was like, it probably felt to him like there is no such thing as ALS at that time. He was free, you know, just like a bird, free. And yeah, that was probably my favorite part of the trip with him. I didn't like sitting in like a Sahara desert for hours. There. So,
Michelle, you have your hand up.
I have a question for Cindy. It was a part in the movie that you talked about time a lot. And you said, in a way, I can't quote it exactly, but time sometimes is not the best friend, or it's not the best thing in this situation. Can you talk a little bit about that as far as being a caregiver or a mom, how time was good or bad for you in that situation?
well, I know somebody whose son had taken their life. He had a mental illness and took his life. And this person had come to me and said, I was so lucky. And I said, what? She says, you are given the gift of time. And I didn't know how to react, because there was a time when I was going through counseling after that, I told the counselor I wished he hadn't been born. I loved him so much, but I wished he hadn't been born, because I didn't want him to have to go through that.
Right.
I didn't want him to have to go through everything that someone with ALS would have to go through. And when this person told me I was given the gift of time, that gift of time might have been time to be with him, but it was time watching him die, time watching him get to the point where he could, I mean, he was with a walker, only a few months in a wheelchair, only a few months, and I never heard my son's voice again. I don't know if that's a gift of time. And at the time, I really resented having that given to me. And it was right before we went on that trip, and that's why it came out in the video. So I don't know if that was a gift of time or if it wasn't. I just know it was a painful time. There was one part on the trip, and I think about this all the time, and I think of that saying. The van had broken down and we had to stay in a hotel. And we had just put him to bed, and we were all in bed. And he started mumbling my name. And I went over to him because he can't talk. But he was calling me. He was calling his mom. And a mom is supposed to protect and take care of their child. And it doesn't matter if your child is a newborn or 5 or 18 or 60. They're always your child. It doesn't matter what. And I went to him and I got so frustrated because as a mom, I should have known how to fix everything, and I couldn't fix it. So I don't know how that is a gift of time. Maybe I just haven't figured it out yet. I'm still in counseling. So
I understand what you meant. I really do.
I've got to go shut my dog up. She's gonna bug the neighbors, so I'll be back. Yeah.
Cute Mike, we'll throw it to you since your hands up. That is his official name from her ALS Story Girls. Cute Mike.
It's just good lighting. You got me on a good day. No, honestly though, thank you for this film. It was extremely inspirational. Like I honestly felt like I was on that journey. And I myself, I mean, I was diagnosed with ALS this March. And like Gary, I really love traveling, and that's kind of what I live for. And I was just curious, at what point did any of you feel like any turning point that, this has to happen, I have to do this? Because I'm still in that struggle of my life, deciding, what I want to do. And I love traveling and I want to have an adventure. But what was that point for you that's like, we have to do this. This is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sal might be able to speak to this a little more than me, but I would do it now. But from what I learned from the experience was like, there's, just this is the time, is as soon as you have that thought. And Gary had brought it up more than once way before it actually happened. And then it got to a point where he was a little bit less mobile. And I think everybody was, it took Gary to really push it forward though. But I think everybody was kind of just waiting to see if that, he was still living his life and active with his wife and spending time with, like, he was going to work and doing these things. And I think eventually it got to a point where he wasn't really working. So it was a lot of sitting around the house. And that's where it was like, there's nothing better than to just go on this adventure.
But didn't he keep it, brought it up to you a number of times, but wasn't it just all of a sudden he decided, I want to do this right now?
Yeah, I mean,
just called you up?
we pretty much left like a couple weeks later and with not a huge plan involved. But I know he had talked to Sal, same as me, many months before. And he had it in his mind for a while.
Yeah, it seemed like he definitely had it in his mind and he wanted to go see stuff. He had stuff to do, people to see. And I don't think any of that was going to ever stop him, regardless. And obviously, if he's like, let's go on a road trip, you're just, from that moment on, you're just trying to figure out logistics and what we're going to see and how we're going to make it, but I think Gabe kind of hit it on the head. I think he was just kind of at home a lot. I think he was getting a little bored and a little ready to get out and see the world. And that's the way he was before ALS, and it's the way he was with ALS. So I think that was just his mindset, no matter what, healthy or not.
Mm-hmm. He was always outdoor. He was an outdoors kind of guy. Camping, snowboarding, traveling, photography, and just people. He was a people person. So, yeah. And I think it just I don't know if he just had some kind of magnet or what, but I can't believe all those guys got together and dropped their lives and did it. And I learned more about him after he passed away, more of his adult personality after he passed away, by people calling me or me reading all the things that his friends would write on Facebook. And I think of that Ogden Theater fundraiser, 1,200 people were there. I mean, it's like, what? 1,200 people were there?
I got a shout out to Tito's Vodka. They picked up the whole bill. I was pretty impressed with Tito's.
Yeah, get a vodka sponsor. But no, Mike too, like, he did do this road trip, but he also, like, for like every weekend, there was an activity or some sort. Like, we went to concerts and we went on like just overnight camp trips where a lot of his friends would show up. So it, I think if you're if you don't have to go on a 40-day adventure, you can do short spurts and still get joy. And I think very much like anybody else, like, if you can conserve your energy and have those short bits of just those joyful moments of something you might want to see, like he did that too. This was just one thing that he developed that somehow worked itself out. But yeah, I think in the film's not, it's not the sole purpose, but it is like for me making the film, um, it changed the way that I lived my life, by doing things that I'm really passionate about. And even in the work that I do, I try to do work that makes me happy and that I'm drawn to, rather than creating projects that aren't for purpose or something like that. So like the message I got from it was, you know, like if you want to do something, seek it out, and if it doesn't make you feel good, do the other. So it's kind of like if there's something you're itching to do, this is there's no time to waste.
Right, celebrate life and adventure,
Mhm.
and don't live for the future, live for now, because you'll always come up with a reason why you shouldn't do it. Um, you know,
Yeah,
you're not happy with your job, you're not happy where you live.
he was driven.
Mhm.
I tell you a story about him. We got a call one day about 5 o'clock. He bit his tongue half off, snowboarding. So I took him down to the hospital. They sewed his tongue up. We didn't get home till midnight. The next morning, he got up and went back snowboarding, and he won the competition. He was driven. Yeah.
I want to read Kim's message in the chat. It says Kim here with ALS. Sorry. Keep like screwing up my chat. Here we go. Kim here with ALS from Seattle, Washington. I felt that even though Gary had a hard time to talk, his life force was still so strong, teaching all of us about love and life, appreciation of all around us. Incredible. I'm thankful to be able to experience his life through this film. Thank you.
You know, he was always a really good hugger, and he always did say, I love you. I don't know if he always did that with his friends. I think he did. Did he do it before his ALS gate or Sal? I mean, did he always say I love you? I just, he did with his family and certain friends. Did he do it?
Yeah.
with everybody?
Yeah, I think so. As far as I can remember, I mean, he was, like I said, he was super welcoming to every single person that he came in contact with. So, like, a lot of places Gary worked, like you guys were saying, where he worked for some big, large outdoor companies where people wanted to be a part of the club, and Gary was always like, "Come on in and join the party, and you're on our team now." And it was just, if you were standing there, you were welcome. So I that's what I remember.
Yeah, he was just always a loving kid.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a loving dude that I think that we were basically pen pals and phone friends before I met him. I don't think I met him for a year or two. I'd met Tucker in San Diego, and he's like, "Oh, I got a best friend Gary, and you guys get along great." So him and I became like pen pals and talked over land phones because we didn't have cell phones. And I remember it was like a year or two before I met him, and then I was just like, "Whoa, that's what you look like? Crazy!" So it was always so much love between him and people he would just randomly meet. It was just, that was the type of guy he was.
He just wanted us wanted us all to know that we needed to live and love life, because you don't know what cards are going to be dealt. You don't know if you walk out the door that day, and you're not going to come home. So it's always important to tell the people that you care about that you love them, because that may be the last thing they hear from you. So I think he just wanted us to know that. You know, live life and love people.
It definitely came through the film and through the relationships with his buddies and with you guys. And I'll tell you, on all the other films, I've taken notes and kind of written things down to bring up in the conversation. And seriously, all I wrote down was YOLO from the necklace on the rearview mirror. Scary shit from his testimonial at the beginning, and then guy stuff when all the guys are shirtless in the van, sweating buckets and just living life. I will tell you, I was deep into the film before I realized they were camping during most of the trip. And so Princess Diva and me, I'm like, oh, I have cool friends, we can do this. But no, it would be 5-star resorts and swim up bar. So the fact that they were like camping and out in the elements, that's when I was like, oh, this is a labor of love for sure.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, you know, camping's cool, but don't discount the 5-star hotel, I'll tell you
That's
that.
what I was saying. But my husband and I would be going glamping, and we wouldn't be drinking beer, it would be wine. So,
Totally.
Well, speaking of wine and beer, I just wanted to show
oh,
Fieldwork Brewing in San Mateo, California, made an ales for ALS beer in honor of Gary and this beautiful film. It's actually called Felspar and Mission, and I believe it's because that's where you guys grew up. Is that the street names?
no, I don't, it might be where he lived in like 3 different places in San Diego, so that might have been one of the places.
Felspar and Mission is where we all grew up surfing. That's
Okay.
where it's kind of like I met Tucker and Matt, and then that kind of introduced me to Gary. And Felspar is like the main street there in Pacific Beach, and it's the name of our soccer team. It's kind of the name of all of our stuff. It's just kind of our stomping grounds kind of thing. And it's
Awesome.
amazing to hear. Yeah.
Very cool.
Gladys, I still haven't tried that beer yet.
Oh, it's sold out, dude. I'm sorry.
All
And
You
it
didn't
could
bring
be
enough.
because there's some at my house. I'm just saying.
right, I'll have to stop by.
Got
I
it.
was gonna say you didn't bring enough for the rest of the class.
I know. As you can see, it's an opened and empty at this point.
Mhm.
One thing and Gabe, I don't even think I've told you this. So I'm part of a group called Her ALS Story, and we're a group of women diagnosed before the age of 35. And some of my girls are on this call making inappropriate comments in the chat. But I was reading a lot of press releases and doing my homework before I watched the film. And I had read about Gary's wife saying that she had seen the Vice episode. And so the Vice episode was the person in the film is in our Her ALS Story group. And that episode was part of our film festival last year. And so when I read it, and then when she said it in the film, I was like, bro, this is you. And so I sent her and I showed her everything. I was like, it's real easy to wrap a project like this and to think like, this is really cool for us, what's the greater good? And like, that was an immediate turnaround, greater good of her project. And tonight and beyond is an immediate turnaround and greater good of this project. And so if you're not feeling the love and the confidence, please do, because this film is game changing for so many people.
Thank you. Yeah. It's definitely a gift that continues to give. And I always thought of it that way. When Gary approached me to work on the project. It's been I think we started working on the project 6 years ago or something. And so to have it continuously, like I get emails from people. First email I got was from Glannis. And we talked, and then I got introduced to you. And so I've met so many people, and it's really transformed my life. I have a film festival that I started last year that's really based on this type of film, that's called Stories Worth Telling. And we look for films that are have a deep impact like this. And so it changed the trajectory of my life and my career immensely. But to be able, I never want the film to die. And I think the great thing about it is it's timeless. And I believe it can impact people for forever. So the more that we can all share this and all the other films, like you just said, you never know who's going to see it, and like it's going to impact them. I see someone likes the GW logo. There's a bunch of, if you go to the website, you can buy this hat. And we donate money to ALS foundations when we get profits. We only sell like 5 hats a year, but there's t-shirts and stuff. But if you guys saw things on the film, there's a bunch of photography. Like I have the van driving. Oh, how do we get it? Driving down Big Sur behind me. So there's little things that you can find on my website or from the passenger seat website that we try to just keep it going. But yeah, I didn't make this logo. I can't take credit for it, and I don't know who did. I think probably Gary.
Oh, Seth
Seth.
Bruce.
Okay. But yeah, Gary loved VWs. I think all the way to the end he worked on one. I spent many days in his garage while he directed people on how to work on one of his cars.
Yeah.
I love Gary so much. I'm a Cadillac guy and I have a Volkswagen tattoo now.
Bougie. One of the things that definitely thank you, Glennis, from like last year and this year as well, just in the films that we've done, and for I think it's always amazing to see the things that make the final cut, knowing how many hours and how much raw emotion and just behind the scenes stuff that for whatever reason didn't make the final cut. But then to think about the stuff that did, and the fact that you guys made a point to put in there about the end of Gary's life and that conversation, and that I hope I go before the date I chose, and the fact that you did utilize the Dignity in Dying Act. I mean, as a person living with ALS, although I live in a Republican state, I mean, that is something that has been in conversations from the jump. And so I appreciate when stuff like that could very easily have been left out of the narrative, could have easily been taken out of the conversation. But the fact that you guys chose to show the hard stuff, it is impactful.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I had kind of consulted many people on the film before we got to a final product. And I had a lot of people tell me actually that I should make the film 22 minutes long or something like that. And I kind of just chose to ignore that because there was so much in there that I didn't want to take out. And there could be a whole film about the death with dignity discussion, and I had thought about making that a larger part of the film, but it just wasn't. I didn't feel like that was what Gary really wanted to focus on, but he did want it to be mentioned. So I think that I felt, to me, it was important to like let people choose how they want to perceive that and what was important. Like, you know, you can choose what you think about that, because everybody has their own right to make that decision. And obviously you can't do that in every state, but we just happen to live again in one of those states.
I like the way you added the animation in there too.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's informational for people that do not understand what ALS is. In fact, some of the guys on the trip said, I think it might have been you, Sal, that said something. I didn't know what ALS was. I don't know if it was you or someone else in there didn't know what it was. They didn't even know the term of Lou Gehrig.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even, it's, you know, you don't know until you're seeing it right up front, even if you do know what it is. And once you spend time around ALS and someone that's going through it, like it comes real apparent really fast.
Right. I mean, Tucker even mentioned that when he met us up at the pier, he didn't recognize Gary. He didn't recognize him. It shocked him. I think the only reason he knew it was Gary is because of the wheelchair.
Right.
So, yeah. It was a difficult film.
For sure.
It had a lot of heart, a lot of pain in it, but then it had so much love. And to know that so many people, so many of those guys, all those guys, but so many that weren't even in the movie, loved our child. And he hated me using that because I'm a man. Don't put baby pictures of me on Facebook. I'm a man. But, yeah. So, yeah, that so many people loved him.
Yeah. I got Desi is asking how much input did Gary have on the content? You know, he was very influential on the content. I mean, we talked about it a lot. And you know, I just filmed everything. So there were times where he would kind of give me an eye contact and say, make sure you're filming this or something like that. But at the very end, we did an interview where he basically just typed out everything that he wanted to say on his computer. And it took a long time, to get a paragraph towards it was just, he took all his energy to write these things out as he progressed, that he put everything he had into like this one time we were together. And he, so that I used that particular interview and tried to spruce it out, because everything he wrote was what he wanted people to hear. He didn't like, he wasn't beating around the bush. It was straight to the point. So I'd say he had a pretty, he wasn't there during any of the editing process, and I don't think he knew what would come out of it, but I think he just trusted that the story would be told right. And it was like you guys said, Cindy, it's raw, and that's what happened. So I just tried to kind of give everybody the most honest view of what it was that Gary experienced and everybody else around him. Another question was, how did you decide on the title of the film? That was kind of just a group discussion with me and my film team. I forget what some of the other names we had at the, I think we thought about like From My Window or something, because like he was just always in the passenger seat riding, but he was kind of directing. So same thing, answer to the question before is like, he's directing the show from the passenger seat. He rode there and it was like, we're going here, let's do this, or and a lot of the times when he was in that chair, he did not have the computer, so his communication was all through like eye contact and facial expressions. But he was running it, and he made it all happen with, he kept, and someone mentioned earlier that he still had all this full of life, and he did. When he was sitting in that chair, he was up and aware, and he's just taking it all in, and he knew where he wanted to go, and it was like he wanted to try it all.
Yeah, he even brought one of his own personal old cameras that he used to love, and he would get us to take it out and try to get us to put it together. And it took 3 of us to figure out how to put it together, because it's old camera, and everything's just perfect, and he likes it meticulous, and he would actually tell us to bring out his camera so he could film something, so
Yeah,
that was really awesome parts too.
Yeah. He'd
First
tell
part-
you if you were packing the car wrong.
Because on the first part of the trip, he had that camera out, and you could see some of my daughter or Cindy was filming, where do we go? Arches, and then the Grand Canyon was all from that camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you say that, or said that who was always directing you or supervising you or telling you what to do. Well, his computer was hooked up on his dash, and his dad was driving, and he was calling him, "You're driving slow like an old grandpa." So he'd give you the look, and then
coming out in my voice.
yeah, he was always telling you if you were driving too slow, or this is what we should do. And I mean, he'd look at you and you'd figure out somebody's looking at you, and then he'd look over at the screen, and then you'd have to read it.
And then you'd look at him and he'd be there to laugh. He would just be cracking up laughing.
So funny.
Yeah.
We got my wife Lisa's here with that was one of Gary's
Oh, we got a naked baby.
caretakers. This is Lisa, who is she's an RN, and she spent a lot of time with Gary. This is Bella.
Hi, Bella.
We just tried blackberries for the first time and they're everywhere. So we're gonna go take a bath.
Look at all those people.
Can we say hi?
Say hi.
Can you blow him a kiss?
She's blowing you a kiss.
Oh,
Oh, there she goes.
Yay, Bella.
Well, nice to meet all of you. I hope you enjoyed the film, and
We did. Thank you.
yeah, thank you for your support. She's going. I might have to take her.
She's gone now.
On the run.
It's funny. I told Gabe earlier tonight, Lisa, that I rewatched the film again today, and all of a sudden I saw your name, and I'm like, wait, Rovik, wait a moment, what is going on? I had no idea the first time I watched it because I hadn't met Gabe at this point. And so I was like, oh, okay, it's a family affair. I see how it is.
Yes.
That's the main
Yep.
thing.
That's a lot of the feedback we get. Actually, it's funny because people are like, okay, so he made the film, he's the friend, but then there's the nurse who was helping take care, and then like, wait a minute, they're married. Like, it's a little confusing, but no, we're just really, it just started from the friendship and knowing him, and then we realized just how much support we can offer him through the film. And then I've been a CNA my whole life, so I was like, why wouldn't I take care of a friend? It just kind of serendipitous in that way. So yeah, just thankful to be a part of his life and share his story, really.
Let's see. Laura says, Gabe and Sal, we did some ales for ALS posters, so some of the beer labels made in 2022. One features the Fieldworth label. I'd love to get you a couple. So that's cool.
That'd be amazing.
We'll get you on touch.
Sounds
She said,
great.
I filled that and run my entire house with my eye gaze, which I can attest to.
Good work.
She's the bossy. And then Glennis asked, I think, the greatest wrap-up question. Gabe and Sal, what did you take away from this trip, and how have you utilized that takeaway?
Wow, this is a hard one, it changed my entire life. Gary did, the trip did, his illness, his death, this film. I've been battling with my own health for a while now. Some years are good, some years are bad. I've been battling epilepsy for about 20 years. I just recently had one about 2 weeks ago, and it was while I was surfing, unfortunately. So I was face down in the water when they got to me. And so I've been dealing with some chronic chest infections from swallowing salt water, and just dealing with not most favorable health conditions for my own self. But I honestly feel as if I didn't go on that trip or have Gary in my life or see what he went through, that I would just be in a much different place mentally. I think his strength and honor just showed me how to live no matter what, and just to fucking keep going. If you can stand up and hug your loved ones, you can tell them I love you, you're a whole lot ahead of the game. So I was working at Costco for 12 years. I quit my job. I started a all natural mushroom company to help people with their neurological health. And here is my logo. It's got a bear on it.
Oh, I like that.
Oh yeah, I just make I quit my job of 12 years at a very, very secure job. And now I'm just trying to help myself mentally, physically, in the healthiest way possible, get away from prescription poisons, and really just live it like Gary. Enjoy the ride, keep going, and tell people you love them every day. Go do what you want to do, and just be happy. That's it. Just keep going.
Nick Rowley did the same thing.
Yeah, I did. Absolutely.
Sold everything and bought a van and took off.
Yep, he did.
Mhm.
Oh, here's my desk, and Gary sits right above it. So now I work from home.
Definitely. That's beautiful. Yeah, yeah, I feel like I kind of said this before, but same ideas. Um it literally, the experience changed my life. I've worked in the film creative industry for a super long time. I had a lot of corporate type clients, and I said no to a lot of experiences because I had to like appease those clients forever. And you know, this was a hard one for me. I'm like, oh, I can't leave for 30 days and just drop everything. But somehow I did. And what's came out of that, it really just, I mean, I think about it every day. I think about Gary. I think about the people that I got to meet and the connections I have. And now I have 30 best friends that live all over the country. And, you know, I started a nonprofit film festival to share more films that impact people's lives like this. Um, I, I don't say no to very much stuff when it comes to like, so when someone's super passionate about something and I believe in them, like I support them. And you know, like Sal said, I'm super capable and I can stand up and I can do almost anything. And so I don't take that for granted. And I get up and go, and I put my I put my heart and soul into everything I do. But um it's just, you know, I'm passionate about telling stories and supporting people, and I'm it's one thing I'm good at. So um but yeah, it's changed my life immensely. I think about it every day. And like Sal, I got two of Gary at both my desks. So one at my office and one at my house. And he sits in our living room. And we don't have a TV. So he's at the like main mantelpiece. So
Cindy and Gary, what do you want us to take away from this film?
Boy, I just think it's great that Gabe, I mean, I just feel ALS awareness. I just feel the more people that'll see it, the more people that'll understand.
The more funds that will be raised to
Find,
fight this disease.
and find a cure.
I mean, there's so many diseases out there, but cancer, for one, affects so many more people, so the funding's there for them. But you have to fight for everything other than the ALS bucket challenge. No funds were really raised for ALS. And just like Gary's friends, they didn't know a lot about it. So just to get out so people understand it and they understand how devastating it is for the person as well as everyone that's in their life. And take life by the horns and live it. Don't make it mundane. Gary taught me that if you were in space looking at Earth, you can't see us. We're just nothing. So when you think about how many years your life is, it just goes like this. It goes so fast. And so, like I told Gary, I don't color inside the lines anymore. I was always so good. Did everything I was supposed to do. I don't color in those lines anymore. Because that time, just your time, you can't make up for lost time. So you have to take it, live it. If you don't, what is what was the purpose for him to have ALS and to leave us? There has to be a reason. We won't find out till we meet God or Jesus someday. But until then, we need to learn from him and experience our life. Live life. If not, you can't do it for yourself, then do it for him. Do it for everyone that has ALS or some other disease that encapsulates you inside a body that you can't do all those things that you did before. Just live.
Michelle Dupree. I thought you put your hand down, so I didn't call on you. Sorry.
But now you said,
Yeah,
screw it, I'll call her anyway.
yeah, I'll call you anyway.
Well, I just wanted to say how much I absolutely love this film. As sad and hard as it was to watch, I watched it multiple times. I lost my best friend and her son to ALS and have been involved for 16 years and had been actually a producer on a film that took a person with ALS 10 years to complete. And I still found this to be one of the most impactful things I've ever watched. I really want to just thank you, because what I was able to do was send this to a young guy that was diagnosed with ALS that reminds me very, very much of your entire story. And they were really at a place where they don't know what to do right now. It's unfortunately fast progressing, and they're a very adventurous group of people. And my colleague Carol said to me, they remind me of them. And it made me think to share that. And then all weekend, they were messaging with me of just how a gift this was for the gift of time, because they were missing this opportunity. Instead of just trying to handle the shit show, for lack of a better word, that's happening, they were able to take what you guys shared and find something that they can do. So now they're working on a plan to follow his dreams and make it happen. And they have a really cool freaking group of guys like you guys did. So I just really want to thank you, and thank Sonny and Glynis, because I watch every documentary. I've seen at least 20 on ALS, and they're all really amazing and important to us. But this one really hit home, and just want to say thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. And with that, thank you guys so much for coming tonight and being part of this conversation. We are next and final meeting is next Tuesday. We're watching Mind Over Matter. Did I make that up, Glynis?
Yeah, it's the 28th, so it's this
Oh,
Sunday coming
sorry.
up.
Sunday.
How do we get information on all these documentaries?
Cindy, I'll go ahead and email them all to you.
Yeah.
You will? Okay, great.
I just want to say one more thing too. I gotta to the person that owns Patagonia. He paid for Gary's insurance up till the day he passed.
Oh,
Patagonia is one hell of a good company.
And Band's owner sent him tennis shoes every month. And yeah, didn't they? Sent him
Yeah.
shoes constantly.
But yeah, the old man, I can't remember his name, the guy that owns Patagonia, he took care of Gary.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Von Chenard.
Okay.
You did.
No.
Thank you all.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Thank you,
Have a good
Sunny.
evening. Thanks,
Glennis,
Sal.
Dave,
Yeah,
everybody.
Glennis and Sunny, you're welcome to share my contact information with everybody. If anyone wants to reach out separately and ask any questions or anything, feel free.
And then
Awesome.
Gabe and Sal, is there any way I can get phone numbers of all those guys?
Yeah. We'll figure
You
that,
have them?
send them to you.
Yeah, well,
Okay, that would be wonderful.
I'll stop by sometimes, Gabe.
Yeah.
We have some old fashioned lights for you.
Oh yeah, I owe you a visit for sure. We'll bring the baby up.
Yeah.
Goodbye,
you,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you so
Bye. Thank
much.
you.
Yes.
Thank you,
thank
guys.
you.
Thank
Nice.
you.
Appreciate you guys.